Buying my first home was supposed to be the highlight of my life. The four-bedroom house in Oakland represented years of sacrifice and 80-hour work weeks in tech. My sister Amanda and I had always been close growing up, so when her family fell on hard times, inviting them to move in seemed like the perfect solution. I never imagined my own sister would change the locks while I was at work throwing my belongings into trash bags. I never thought my kindness would leave me homeless in my own driveway. Before I share this heartbreaking story, let me know where you are watching from, and hit subscribe so you do not miss more eye-opening life lessons like this one. I grew up idolizing my older sister Amanda. 4 years my senior, she was my protector and my guide through our tumultuous childhood. Our parents divorced when I was just 8 years old. Mom worked 2 jobs to keep us fed, which left Amanda picking up the slack at home. She walked me to school, helped with homework, and made sure I had something to eat when Mom worked late nights. Despite our financial struggles, Amanda always found ways to make special moments happen. I will never forget my 12th birthday. Mom had been laid off the month before, and I knew there would be no celebration that year. I pretended not to care, telling Amanda it was just another day. That evening, she called me into the kitchen where she had somehow managed to bake a lopsided chocolate cake. Beside it sat a small wrapped package, a second-hand Walkman she had purchased by emptying her secret savings jar. That moment cemented our bond. Amanda was not just my sister, she was my hero. As we grew older, our paths diverged naturally. I buried myself in computers and coding, determined to build a stable future. After high school, I moved to San Francisco to attend community college while working tech support. Those early years were brutal. Cramped apartments with 4 roommates, instant noodles for dinner most nights, and 60-hour work weeks while taking night classes. But I had a plan and stuck to it religiously. Amanda took a different route. She met James during her first semester at State College and fell hard. By the end of the year, she had dropped out, married him, and was expecting their first child. Mom worried Amanda was rushing, but my sister seemed genuinely happy. James worked construction, making decent money, and Amanda glowed with pride as they set up their first apartment together. Over the next 5 years, our lives continued in opposite directions. I finished my degree, landed a junior developer position at a growing software company, and slowly climbed the ladder. Each promotion meant longer hours, but also bigger paychecks that I diligently saved. Amanda had a second child, a daughter named Lily, to join their son Ethan. From the outside, everything seemed perfect in her world. What I did not see were the cracks forming beneath the surface. James jumped between construction jobs, never staying anywhere longer than 6 months. He always had reasons. The boss was unfair, the commute was too long, or the work was beneath his skills. Amanda defended each decision, insisting he was just finding the right fit. Meanwhile, they moved to increasingly cheaper apartments as their financial situation worsened. By my 30th birthday, I had accomplished what once seemed impossible. After 6 years of saving every spare dollar and living well below my means, I had enough for a down payment on a house. Not just any house. A beautiful 4-bedroom Craftsman in a quiet Oakland neighborhood. The mortgage payments of $3,200 monthly were steep but manageable with my senior developer salary. The day I signed those papers was the proudest moment of my life. I spent weeks painting walls, refinishing hardwood floors, and carefully selecting furniture. The master bedroom overlooked a small backyard where I planted a vegetable garden. The second bedroom became my home office, essential for remote work days. The other 2 rooms stood empty, waiting for some future purpose I had not yet determined. Then came the call that would change everything. It was late on a Tuesday evening when my phone lit up with Amanda's name. Her voice cracked as she explained their situation. James had lost his latest job 3 months prior, right as the pandemic restrictions hit. Their savings had evaporated, and now the landlord was threatening eviction. With 2 children nowhere to go, and no prospects on the horizon, Amanda was desperate. "We just need a few months to get back on our feet," she sobbed. "James has some promising leads, but we cannot find anywhere that will rent to us with an eviction on our record." I did not hesitate. "Move in with me. I have 2 empty bedrooms just sitting there. We quickly established what seemed like reasonable ground rules. They would contribute to groceries and utilities when possible. James would continue his job search while Amanda watched the kids. I would maintain the mortgage payments. We agreed they would help with household chores and respect my need for quiet during work hours. It seemed like the perfect temporary solution for all of us. The first few weeks were genuinely wonderful. Having family around brought life to my too-quiet house. 6-year-old Ethan and 4-year-old Lily filled the rooms with laughter. We had family dinners each night, and I rediscovered the joy of having my sister in my daily life. On weekends, we took the kids to nearby parks or had movie nights with homemade popcorn. For a brief moment, it felt like we had created something special. The first sign that something was shifting came about a month after they moved in. I returned home from the office to find my living room completely rearranged. The couch I had carefully selected now faced a different wall. My bookshelves had been pushed into a corner to make room for a gaming station James had set up. We thought this layout worked better for the kids, Amanda explained when I asked about it. The old way the TV was getting too much afternoon glare. I swallowed my irritation. It was just furniture after all. If this made their transition easier, I could adjust. But that small change was just the beginning. Soon James began referring to the garage as his workshop despite my tools and equipment already occupying the space. Amanda started calling it our house when talking to friends on the phone. Small boundaries were crossed, then erased completely. The kitchen became a particular battleground. I had always been an organized cook, keeping my specialized equipment in specific places. Now I would come home to find my cast iron skillet soaking in the sink, or my Japanese knives tossed in with the regular cutlery. When I mentioned this to Amanda, she dismissed my concerns. "You are being so uptight about everything," she said. "We are family, not hotel guests. You need to lighten up." Meanwhile, James showed little interest in finding new employment. What had started as promising leads devolved into occasional half-hearted scrolling through job listings. Instead, he spent most days playing video games in the living room, the sound of gunfire and explosions, making it impossible for me to concentrate during my work-from-home days. "The job market is brutal right now," he would explain when I gently pressed the issue. "Nobody is hiring in my field." Yet when I suggested looking outside his field or taking temporary work, he looked at me like I had suggested he sell a kidney. "I am not working fast food at my age," he scoffed. "I have a family to support. I need something that pays what I am worth." What bothered me most was not that he was struggling to find work. Many people were during that time. It was his attitude of entitlement, the assumption that my house was now his castle. He began inviting friends over for gaming sessions that stretched late into the night. They left beer bottles and pizza boxes strewn across my once immaculate living room. When I asked if they could clean up after themselves, James rolled his eyes as if I was being unreasonable. "We will get to it eventually," he would say. "Stop being such a neat freak." Even more concerning was Amanda's transformation. My once considerate sister now sided with James on every issue. When I asked if they could contribute to the electricity bill, which had doubled since their arrival, she accused me of being petty. "We are family" became her constant refrain. Family helps family without keeping score. The final straw in this growing tension came when I discovered James had been using my credit card for online purchases. I had left it on my desk after ordering dinner one night. The next day I received notifications for several gaming purchases I had not made. When confronted, James shrugged it off. "I was going to tell you about it," he said casually. "We are a little short this month, and Ethan needed these games for homeschooling. I figured you would not mind since you are always saying you want to help." I was speechless. Not only had he taken my card without permission, but he was twisting my generosity against me. When I turned to Amanda for support, her response left me cold. "Santos, you make so much money sitting at your computer all day," she said dismissively. "What is a few dollars for your nephew's education? Sometimes I think you forget what family really means." That night I lay awake wondering when my sister had become this person. Someone who viewed my boundaries as selfishness and my generosity as obligation. The sister I had known would never have treated anyone this way, let alone the brother who had opened his home to her. I realized with growing unease that the dynamics in my house had shifted dramatically and not in my favor. Over the following weeks, the situation deteriorated further. Items from my bedroom began to disappear. A watch here, a pair of headphones there. When found in Ethan's possession, it was always explained away as borrowing. My private office became a playroom whenever I left the house, despite my explicit requests to keep it off limits. I started locking the door only to find the lock mysteriously broken a week later. Amanda began spreading narratives to our extended family. Cousins called to ask why I was making things so difficult for my sister. Our aunt texted to remind me that family sticks together. No one seemed interested in hearing my side. In their eyes, I was the villain, the wealthy tech worker too selfish to share his good fortune without complaint. James and Amanda were no longer guests in my home. They had become entitled occupants who viewed my continuing ownership as an inconvenience. The final confrontation began innocuously. I returned home early one afternoon to find James measuring the walls in my home office. Blueprints were spread across my desk, covering my work equipment. "What are you doing?" I asked, setting down my laptop bag. "Planning the renovation," he replied without looking up. "We are thinking of knocking through this wall to expand the kid's bedroom. Ethan is getting older, and he needs his own space." I stared in disbelief. "You cannot just decide to renovate my house without discussing it with me first." James straightened, fixing me with a cold stare. "Look, we have been here almost 6 months now. This is our home too. We need to make it work for our family. I understand that, but this is still my house. I am the one paying the mortgage." "There it is," James sneered. "Always throwing the mortgage in our faces. We contribute in other ways. Amanda keeps this place running while you are at work all day. The kids bring life to this mausoleum you called a home." I took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. "I never said your contributions are not valuable, but major structural changes require my approval. This is legally my property." "For now," James muttered. "What is that supposed to mean?" "It means we have established residency rights. We have been here long enough that legally you cannot just throw us out. This is our home now too. You are basically just the roommate who pays the bills." The conversation spiraled from there. Every frustration from the past months boiled over. I finally laid out clear expectations. They needed to respect my property, contribute financially as promised, and James needed to find work, any work, immediately. James laughed in my face. "Who the hell do you think you are? Without us, you would just be a lonely loser in an empty house. You should be thanking us for giving your pathetic life some purpose." I turned to Amanda, hoping for support or at least acknowledgement of how inappropriate James was being. Instead, she crossed her arms and delivered the ultimate betrayal. "Santos, this is not working. You have changed. You have become controlling and miserly. I think it would be best if you found somewhere else to live for a while. Give us some space to raise our family without your constant criticism." I could barely process her words. "You want Emmy to leave my house, the house I saved for years to buy, the house where I am paying every single mortgage payment. It is not just about the money," Amanda shouted. "This is about family. Real family supports each other without conditions. If you cannot do that, maybe you are not the brother I thought you were." I left that night, checking into a hotel to cool off. I thought a night apart would bring clarity to everyone. I was wrong. When I returned the following day after work, my key no longer worked in the lock. Through the front window, I could see James smirking as he pointed to the new deadbolt they had installed. My phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. "We need space from your negativity. Your things are in the backyard. Find somewhere else to stay until you can adjust your attitude." Sure enough, my clothes, personal items, and even my work laptop had been stuffed into garbage bags and tossed behind the house like trash. Some had spilled onto the wet grass, including photo albums of our parents that were now water-damaged beyond repair. I sat in my car, parked in front of my own house, unable to enter. Shock gave way to disbelief, then to a hollowing sense of betrayal, so profound it physically hurt. That night I slept in my car, unable to process that my own sister had made me homeless. The next day brought practical challenges. I needed clean clothes for work. I needed my computer. I needed basic toiletries. Most of all, I needed to understand my legal options. I called in sick, then spent the morning meeting with a real estate attorney who specialized in property disputes. The consultation was eye-opening. While James had been partially correct, they had established some tenancy rights by living there. He had conveniently omitted the most crucial factor: I was still the legal owner with the mortgage in my name. The attorney explained that what they had done, changing locks and removing my possessions, was actually illegal. You have grounds for an immediate eviction based on their actions, the attorney explained. But that process will take time, possibly months, given the current backlog in housing courts. As we discussed options, a realization struck me with sudden clarity. I was still paying $3,200 every month for a house I could not enter. I was financing my own betrayal. The mortgage payment was due in 3 days, set to automatically withdraw from my account, as it had for the past 2 years. What if I simply stopped paying the mortgage, I asked. The attorney's expression grew serious. That would eventually lead to foreclosure. The bank would repossess the house, and everyone would be evicted. But it would severely damage your credit score for years. It is an extreme option, and I generally do not recommend it. I nodded, absorbing this information. How long would the foreclosure process take? Given the current climate, probably 4 to 6 months before they actually evict anyone. I left the office with a heavy decision weighing on my mind. That afternoon, I found a small studio apartment available for immediate move-in. It was nothing compared to my house, just one room with a kitchenette and bathroom. But it was somewhere to sleep that was not my car. I signed a 6-month lease and used my emergency fund to cover the security deposit. That evening, I made the hardest decision of my life. I logged into my bank account and canceled the automatic mortgage payment. Then, I drafted an email to Amanda and James. As you have made it clear, I am no longer welcome in my own home. I will no longer be paying for it. The mortgage payment of $3,200 due this week has been canceled. All future payments are also canceled. You have 4 to 6 months before the bank forecloses and evicts everyone. I suggest you use this time to find alternative housing. This is the consequence of your choices. I hit send, then turned off my phone, unable to bear whatever response might come. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt a small sense of control returning. If they wanted my house so badly, they could pay for it themselves. Amanda's response came within minutes. A string of laughing emojis followed by, "Nice try. You will not ruin your perfect credit score over this petty fight. You are bluffing." James was equally dismissive. "Go ahead. Only hurts you in the long run. We will be fine." They believed I was playing a game of chicken, that I would eventually cave rather than damage my financial future. They did not understand how deeply their betrayal had cut. My credit score seemed meaningless compared to the principle at stake. I would not be held hostage by my own generosity. The first late payment notice from the bank arrived 30 days later. I forwarded it to Amanda without comment. Her response showed the first crack in her confidence. "You cannot seriously be doing this. This is financial suicide." I did not respond. I had begun therapy by this point, working through the trauma of family betrayal. My therapist helped me see that Amanda and I had different definitions of family. For me, family meant mutual respect and boundaries. For her, it had become a blank check for unlimited demands. The second month brought increasingly frantic messages from both Amanda and James. The bank had called them as residents of the property. Reality was setting in. James tried a new approach. "Look, man, we can work something out. Maybe we split the payment." Again, I did not engage. Any agreement now would only reset the cycle. They had shown who they truly were when they thought they held all the power. I would not forget that lesson. By the third month, the bank initiated formal foreclosure proceedings. Amanda called 17 times in one day. When I finally answered, her voice had lost its entitled edge. "Santos, please. They are going to take the house. We have nowhere to go. Think about the kids." "You should have thought about the kids before making their uncle homeless," I replied calmly. You made your choice. Now you are facing the consequences. It was James's idea to change the locks, she admitted. I just went along with it. I never thought you would actually stop paying. That is the problem, Amanda. You never thought about anyone but yourselves. In the 4th month, a formal eviction notice was posted on the door. Amanda sent photographs, as if I would suddenly change my mind at the sight of an official document. By this point, I had accepted the loss of my house and the hit to my credit. What surprised me was how little these things mattered compared to the peace I had found in my small studio, free from the chaos and disrespect of the previous months. The foreclosure process moved faster than expected. Just before the 5-month mark, I received an email notification that the property had been scheduled for sheriff's eviction the following week. I felt a strange mixture of emotions. Sadness for the loss of my first home, relief that the situation was finally resolving, and a quiet vindication that actions truly did have consequences. On eviction day, I took the day off work, but did not go to the house. I had no desire to witness their removal or engage in further drama. A text from our mutual cousin confirmed it had happened. They are out. Sheriff gave them 2 hours to pack essentials. James's parents drove up from San Diego to get them. Later that evening, Amanda sent a single message. I hope you are happy now. We are officially homeless because of you. I stared at those words for a long time, contemplating the stunning lack of self-awareness they revealed. They were not homeless because of me. They were homeless because they had bitten the hand that housed them. They had calculated that my familial love would override all self-respect, and they had miscalculated catastrophically. The following day, I drove past the house. A notice from the bank was taped to the door. Through the windows, I could see the place had been left in disarray. It was no longer my beautiful, carefully maintained home. It was collateral damage in a war I never wanted to fight. My credit score had indeed plummeted nearly 200 points. The foreclosure would remain on my record for 7 years. The financial advisor I consulted estimated it would take at least 3 years of careful credit management before I could qualify for another mortgage. These were steep consequences, but I did not regret my decision. Some principles are worth the price. A year passed before I had any contact with Amanda. Our mother's brother, Uncle Ray, passed away, unexpectedly bringing the scattered remnants of our family together for the funeral. I almost did not attend, fearing the confrontation, but ultimately decided I would not let family drama keep me from paying my respects. Amanda looked different, thinner, her face lined with stress. The children had grown, looking somewhat bewildered by the somber gathering. James was noticeably absent. After the service, Amanda approached me cautiously. Can we talk? Just for a minute. We stepped outside the funeral home, standing awkwardly beneath a tree beginning to shed its autumn leaves. James and I separated 6 months ago, she said, without preamble. Living with his parents was difficult. He started drinking heavily, blamed me for everything. I said nothing, waiting. I know nothing I say can undo what happened, she continued. I betrayed you in the worst possible way. I chose James over you, over basic decency. There is no excuse. No, I agreed quietly. There is not. The kids ask about you. They miss their uncle. This pierced my carefully constructed armor. I had missed those children desperately, knowing they were innocent victims in the adults' war. They are welcome in my life, I said carefully. You and I have a much longer road. She nodded, wiping away a tear. I understand. I just want you to know I am sorry. Truly sorry. What we did was unforgivable. Maybe not unforgivable, I replied. But forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It does not mean going back to how things were. Since that day, we have established a cautious, limited relationship. I see the children once a month, taking them for outings to museums or parks. Amanda and I communicate primarily about logistics for these visits. James has moved to another state, starting over with a new job, and from what I hear, a new girlfriend. As for me, I have slowly rebuilt my life. The small studio apartment became a slightly larger 1-bedroom. I changed jobs, finding a company that offered better work-life balance. My credit score has begun its slow climb back toward respectability. Most importantly, I sought therapy to process the trauma and learn to trust again. The past 2 years taught me harsh lessons about family boundaries and the dangerous myth of unconditional giving. I learned that generosity without boundaries is not generosity at all. It is an invitation to exploitation. I learned that sometimes you must lose everything to reclaim yourself. Today, I am saving for another house. It will be smaller than the first, perhaps just a modest 2-bedroom condo. But it will be mine, built on a foundation of hard-won wisdom rather than naive optimism. I now understand that a home is not just walls and a roof. It is a space where your boundaries are respected and your kindness is not weaponized against you. Have you ever had to make a difficult decision that hurt you financially but saved your self-respect? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more real-life experiences and lessons. Share this with someone who might be struggling with family boundaries. Sometimes knowing you are not alone makes all the difference. Thank you for listening, and remember, true family lifts you up. It does not tear you down.